What kind of paper did Annie get Paul at first?
Do you need the specific name or like what was wrong with it?
It's got a specific name on the
whatever
and
it
he tells
was.
her
It's
to go
smudged.
get a different
It's
kind
smudged.
of paper.
That's all I know about that paper, bro.
All right.
This ain't Dunder Mifflin.
The paper that she went to go get at first is ENT, and ENT is actually on the front of the ream. And then he put that in the typewriter and wrote smudge, and then showed her that it smudged. She got mad about that, left, and went to go get the other paper. So
she got pissed off.
Number 2,
she had to go back to town.
Yeah, she did.
Do you need anything else while I'm out?
Literally, dude, she was.
You need us to buy the whole store for you?
I had an ex-girlfriend like that one time. She was whacked out too.
Click on the mic. Kill all the lights. Popcorn in a paper bag and a list of our worst nights. We've seen the masks. We've heard the cracks. We laugh at the fake blood till it crawls into our week. Remember that scene that messed you up for days. Remember that hands on your eyes, but you still gazed. We drank the monsters out. Name every fear you packed. If it made you sleep with the lamp on, we'll say, remember that.
All right, guys, this week we're going to get back into the Stephen King world. We're going to do his movie Misery. It's a 1990 American psychological horror thriller film directed by Rob Reiner from a screenplay by William Goldman. It's based on a Stephen King's 1987 novel, and it's about novelist Paul Sheldon, who's held captive by an obsessive fan. Brent, why don't you give us the box office numbers for this thing?
All right. So this movie had a budget of $20 million, and it had a profit of $61.2 million worldwide.
Oh, dang. That's a good profit there. Wow. Cade, what about the cast, buddy?
Yeah, this time we have some more iconic actors and actresses compared to Suspiria last week, if you guys watched that episode. But first and foremost, we have James Caan, who plays Paul Sheldon. And today, Daniel and I had a conversation at work that kind of showed how, I guess I need to go watch some more movies, given that I said, oh, yeah, you're talking about the guy from The Elf. Daniel said, no.
That's what I thought.
No.
He's from Elf.
See, so me and Brent, it's just how it is.
Corleone,
That's what we thought at first.
Sonny Corleone.
So you got James Caan, playing the main guy,
Elf.
Paul Sheldon, in this movie. And then we have Kathy Bates in this movie playing the main bad girl in this movie, Annie Wilkes, and she did such a phenomenal job in this movie.
Did a great job.
I mean, my father-in-law recommended this movie, and he's actually going to watch this podcast specifically because this is one of his favorite films. So I have to say shout out to Chris Johnson, good father-in-law that I got. Just make sure he knows I shouted him out. But yeah, he recommended this, and she did phenomenal. Her facial expressions, she really made you feel like on edge in this movie. And then I'll go ahead and give the Sheriff Buster shout out in this movie. Since he tried his best to go help old Paul Sheldon. He's played by Richard Farnsworth.
Yeah, this movie pretty much hinges on the performance of Kathy Bates.
Mhm.
If she doesn't have an Oscar-worthy performance like she ended up having, then this movie could be very boring. But her performance of Annie Wilkes is so good. Like, the way she's able to play a mentally handicapped person, it's just great. So great performance by her.
Yeah, she totally made the movie, man.
Oh yeah.
She made me feel like she was really crazy.
Yeah.
She plays a good
Yeah,
nut.
okay.
She does.
We'll get
She plays
started.
A good crazy person.
Mm-hmm. She has that crazy look in her eyes, like you're just sitting there and you could tell.
Speaking of that look in her eyes, Daniel, did you ever look her up to see what she looked like when she was younger? Because you said you figured she was pretty hot when she was younger.
It's the weirdest
Dude, I
thing
thought
I've
she was
ever
hot in
heard my
Misery,
father
man.
say.
I was like,
is
shoot,
that-
yeah.
She could break my legs anytime.
The
Yeah,
weirdest shit.
that I don't disagree with
Dude,
Daniel very often. Him and
you got
he has a lot of great takes. This is the one time we're gonna have to say no.
you got Misery.
Chick is
I
crazy.
haven't
fried
seen
green
her as a younger
tomatoes.
person. She might have been
she
hot.
Was,
I
she
don't
was
know.
hot.
Look it up, Cade.
I honestly
I
don't.
Show us on the
I
screen.
didn't
Look it
her
up.
Let me look up Kathy Bates back in the day.
Yeah.
I mean, she has a nude scene.
Kathy
She has
Bates
one
back in
nude
the
scene
day.
somewhere.
Yeah. Pull it up,
Not
Cade.
in
Put it
this
on the
movie.
screen.
Let's see if me sharing the screen breaks this.
No,
Let's
not
see
in
what-
this movie.
let's hear. All right. We're gonna try sharing the screen.
Somebody's about to get kicked off.
Everybody
as long as
hold your
Corky
horses.
don't share it, it's okay.
No, as long as it
All
ain't
right.
me doing it, we'll be fine. All
Here
right,
is
let's see.
here is Daniel's.
Oh, snap. That's
Here she
zombie
is.
Kathy Bates. Okay.
So
Check
I don't
check
know.
that picture down there in the
You
bottom
know,
right. Check
Her
check
is
that.
Annie Wilkes.
Yeah, black and white picture.
Yeah, pull
Huh?
that one up.
What are you talking about?
All right, I can see it. I can see it.
She looks like she works at the Piggly Wiggly in Etowah.
I'm telling
That's
you,
all
man.
right.
I'm telling you, man.
There's good looking
She's
cashiers
hot.
out there.
She.
Okay.
That's right.
All right.
Okay, I just looked
That's
it
right.
up. And in the 2002 film, About Schmid, she appears nude with Jack Nicholson in a hot tub.
There you go, Daniel. You can go watch that movie and get your.
And you'll be
Well, okay.
downloading that tonight.
Yeah, Daniel's about to leave the
in-
show early.
2002. I've seen that movie. I don't remember that scene, but that's 2002 debates. I don't know about that. Yeah, we'll see.
Oh my gosh.
All right, guys. In the beginning of Misery, okay, one more time. In the beginning of Misery, famous romance novelist Paul Sheldon finishes writing the final book in his popular Misery series and leaves a Colorado lodge during a snowstorm. On his way home, he crashes in his car off the road and is rescued by a seemingly kind former nurse named Andy Wilkes, who claims to be his #1 fan. Annie takes Paul to her isolated farmhouse and begins caring for his injuries, which includes severely broken legs. At first, she appears friendly and helpful, but it becomes clear that she is obsessed with Paul's Misery novels and becomes furious when she discovers that Paul killed off her favorite character in his newest book. So what do you guys think about the first part of this movie, man? What do you do if you're a novelist and you're a famous, writer, wreck your car, you think you're being rescued, but you wake up in somebody's house, man? What do you think about this movie?
Brent, do you want to go first or do you want me to?
Yeah, I know
in?
Brett's going to have to break this
Yeah,
down for
whichever
us.
one, I have a lot to say, though,
you bite
definitely
that
this
chunk.
opening scene.
Go for it, buddy.
All right, so
Go
do,
for it.
do
Go
you
ahead.
want me to
All
start
right, so,
then? Because I obviously don't have as much to say as you do.
sure, you start. You start.
I think that the opening is great. Rob Reiner directed this movie, and he also directed Stand By Me, and that's one of my favorite movies. I really like the way that Rob Reiner set this movie up and the pacing of it. I also like the fact that he uses a lot of different music that I like. Just like, Paul Sheldon is driving his car down the mountain road right before he wrecks, and he's listening to that. Now, I can't remember who it is, but it's an oldies song. It's just stuff like that I really enjoy. About the different scenes and stuff. But as far as like the overall movie, I mean, I really enjoyed it, and I think that it was paced well, and I think that Annie Wilkes is like one of the best villains ever. So, having said that, we'll go ahead and let Brent start in.
Yeah, so first of all, when Annie Wilkes, the opening line for one of the most iconic villains of all time, I'm your #1 fan. Like, that's just such an iconic opening scene for an iconic villain.
Yeah, no doubt.
So, with Misery, let's start in with a little bit of the behind the scenes on why Stephen King even came up with this as a plot. The book he wrote before Misery was a book called The Eyes of the Dragon. And this is not a horror novel at all. It was a fantasy novel that he wrote for his son, and it has no horror at all. It's like a fairy tale or like a fantasy novel. Well, at this time, Stephen King had just come off of one of the best runs that any author had ever had. Starting off with Carrie, Salem's Lot, The Shining, The Stand, and just all horror all the way through. Well, he was starting to get tired of writing horror a little bit, and he wanted to take a break, and he thought, hey, I'm going to write this story for my son. I'm going to see how audience like it. Audiences hated it. You know, viewers of the show, they know I've read through all of Stephen King's books, and I will say The Eyes of the Dragon is one of the worst books that he's wrote. I'm right in there with them.
Really? Wow.
I'm right in there with them.
It connects to the Dark Tower series. I know.
It does connect to the Dark Tower series, yes. It has the Men in Black in it.
Mm-hmm.
But
It's got the
he got
Crimson
super
King in it too,
depressed.
don't it?
I would have to go back to see if it has the Crimson King. It may. But anyway, so he got super depressed that he was like, you know, I come out, I'll write one story for myself, and my fans just crap on it. And so that started making him think, well, what if someone was to just capture me and make me write a horror story that they like? And he started just becoming not paranoid, but he started getting the idea of Misery. And so just such a unique idea for a story. And in the book, it's like 2 books in one, because you actually get to read Misery's Return as he's writing it. And so you
That's
get to
cool.
read that while also trying to figure out what's going on with Paul Sheldon. So anyway, just to set that up as the backstory, I think it's really neat to see this is why Stephen King came up with the idea. And so just from that, the symbolism in the story to me means a lot more, because he was writing himself as Paul Sheldon. And this is one of the books that he constantly refers to as one of the scariest books that he ever wrote, and one of the best books he says that he ever wrote. And it's because it meant so much to him. And so obviously, you know, starting off with the car crash, getting picked up by Annie Wilkes, her saying that she's his #1 fan. And the first time that you know, okay, there may be a couple screws loose with Annie Wilkes, is when she's feeding him soup. And I forgot what he says. He says something that makes her mad. Oh, he's talking about the cussing in the book.
Yes.
He wrote a new book, and there was a lot of cussing in it. The way Kathy Bates plays that scene, which is like, you think it's normal? You think it's normal? I'm just going to walk into the feed store and say, hey, effing cashier, hey, and it just keeps going on. And the way that Rob Reiner zooms in on her face, and it's almost like she can do like a Bill Skarsgård eye, kind of like where her eyes kind of seem
really
to
can.
go apart, and she just looks crazy. But that was the first scene that you kind of tell that she's a little bit crazy. But when she finds out that Paul Sheldon kills off Misery Chastain in his latest book, that's when all crap breaks loose. And you know, like, she busts through the door and just stares at him. And you know, the way she talks, obviously she's crazy, but when she says, I thought you were different, but you're just like any other dirty birdie, and walks out, and it's just
her
it's just-
insults are like so like childlike. It's like, you stupid dookie head, like type of insults. Yeah.
you cock-a-doodie.
Yeah, the
Okay.
cock-a-doodie. That's what I was
But yeah,
waiting
Kate,
on.
what did you? I know I took a little long with that. So
you're
what
good,
did you think
man.
about
This
about
this
that
was my
opening?
first time watching this movie. My father-in-law had recommended this movie to me for years. He knew that I really liked Stephen King and It, and a few of Stephen King's other works like The Shining. But I think I had watched a trailer for this movie a few years ago, so I kind of knew how Annie Wilkes was. It kind of showed some of her crazy side in the trailer, but I didn't know how that would play out in the movie. And so I kind of at first, you know, seeing that, you know, his car he had wrecked in the snow, and he gets picked up by her, and she's like, oh, I'm a nurse. I'm like, well, this kind of, you know, worked out perfectly for him, because it's not like they revealed anything about him actually wrecking due to her actually causing him to wreck. He legitimately wrecked due to the bad weather at the time, right? Is that correct, Brent?
Yeah.
So in a sense, you know, his greatest nightmare, you know, of getting captured by her turned out to save his life. And so I thought that was super kind of an interesting parallel, because he would have died. That man was gonna.
Yeah, he was done. Yeah.
He would have been buried in the snow, and like it was spitting up there in Colorado.
But then you still get the uneasy feeling knowing that she was stalking him.
Yes.
She
yeah,
says
because
that
she
she was
knew
following
everything.
him from the lodge.
She knew everything, and I was really hoping that, you would have some of that information about the background, because I didn't know if Stephen King had an experience with a stalker and he kind of based this on that. It was more like he just wanted to write a story of what he thinks would happen to him. So I really liked the way the movie started. I thought that it was super. I mean, this is actually one movie I would say that my wife legitimately watched with me, as opposed to the Slumber Party Massacre, where she said, "I'm not watching this."
Yeah. And then Cade, the tie-in, the Dark Tower tie-in, really
That's what I
quick.
wanted to discuss. Yeah.
So so the town the Misery set in is Sidewinder, Colorado. I don't know if it says that in the movie or not, but in
Okay.
the book it's Sidewinder, Colorado. Sidewinder is the town it's the closest town to the Overlook Hotel, which is where The Shining was
Oh, so it
based.
has a connection directly there, because Shining is in the same universe, or at least the same Earth, as Derry and It.
Yes, yes. So so Misery is connected through the It timeline.
Yeah.
Because The Shining is connected through the It timeline.
Man, that's so cool.
Yeah.
See,
So
that's
in
cool.
the same universe that Annie Wilkes is, torturing Paul, it's the same universe that Jack Torrance is killing, trying to kill his family, and also the same universe that Pennywise is trying to kill the people of Derry. So it's all
Wow.
connected.
Wow, that's crazy. So, what do you think there's a thing where I read about this and I listened to this on some other podcasts, but everybody talks about the isolation of the snowy setting and how, I guess, Brent, you probably know more than anybody, and how Stephen King put in the book about how the snow was actually kind of a trap for Paul, which made, he couldn't escape because of the snow and stuff like that. A lot of people were talking about that. Do you guys have any insights on that, or is that just something that other people have picked up on?
Brent, you want to take this one,
Well,
or I can?
yeah, I guess I could say something than you can, Cade. But yeah, I mean, the snow, obviously it stops Paul it's what causes Paul to wreck. It causes him, if he was to get outside, he wouldn't be able to crawl as easy.
Yeah.
But just even more than that, the snow makes the movie and the book very atmospheric, and it makes it a perfect horror movie to watch in the wintertime. Because
Right.
even the cover of just the house in the distance with the red windows and the snow on the ground and just big
Yeah.
red letters, Misery,
Yeah.
like that just looks like a winter horror movie.
Exactly. And I hear Daniel talk a lot about, because he writes horror and stuff like that, and I hear he always talks about how you have to create isolation when it comes to these stories and stuff like that. And I thought it was very unique how Stephen King used snow to create that isolation in this movie and stuff like that. Daniel, did you pick up on that when you watched it?
I did. Like it was a little bit more than that, just the snow. Like it's the snow you can't leave. It prevents help from coming also. So it's like Paul, he can't really get out, but then you don't have a whole lot of help that's able to come in. Like he was at Annie Wilkes's house for what, a month almost before the sheriff even found his car off the side of the road because
Right.
of the
Yeah.
snow. So
Yeah.
the snow hurt him in a bunch of different ways like that.
Yeah, I thought that was real unique, man. And but yeah, and then the other thing on all these other, when I was doing my research, they always, and you guys have already touched on this a little bit, but the main part of this first part of the film deals with we talk about the isolation and how Stephen King used the snow, but the other main part of the first part of the film is Annie's personality shift, from nurse to obsessive fan. And I know you guys have already touched on that a little bit, but I thought it was real cool how she would just have bursts of insanity. It looked like, as he was, because, when he wakes up, he thinks, oh, I'm saved. This person's going to take care of me. But he starts seeing little actions she does that makes him think, well, something's wrong here. Like she wouldn't let him use the phone. And, like you said, she would have outbursts about his language in the book and stuff like that. When you look at this movie and you look how Stephen King, wrote the book and stuff like that, I thought it was kind of fascinating, man, because I used to just sit down and watch these movies. Hey, I'm watching a horror movie, but then as you look at the movie and you see how it's actually broken down in story form, I find it fascinating, man. So,
Mhm. Yeah, she seemed like almost like maybe in a sense she was a control freak a little bit. Controlling literally almost everything this guy did. And I'll say this, like I don't think I've seen a film like this. You talk about creating a sense of isolation. You know, the snow is huge in that, but the fact that his legs are broken, you
Yeah.
know, you're completely stranded and at the mercy of whoever is your captor at that point. Whoever's got you, you can't do anything. And so, you know, these scenes in the film where as you get later on in there, he gets the courage to get in his wheelchair and actually try to get out. You know, he picks a lock. He kind of travels around her house trying to find some way to get out of there. And
Yeah.
so, you know, that creates, you know, he can't do anything, especially when she's sitting there freaking out, like breaking chairs over his bed. He has no strength to leave. It's not like he's chained up and he can do anything. He's literally just stuck because his legs are broken. And that's not something I've seen too often in a movie. You know, people are normally tied up. So that I thought that was super interesting with this film.
Yeah, it definitely was. And that'll segue us into the kind of the middle of the movie. Excuse me. And, you know, as the story progresses, Annie's obsession becomes more dangerous. When she reads Paul's new manuscript and discovers Misery dies, she forces him to burn the book and demands that he write a new novel, bringing the character back to life. Now, at this time, Paul realizes he's being held prisoner and begins to secretly plot escape while pretending to cooperate. Annie's violent instability is fully revealed when she brutally hobbles Paul with a sledgehammer to prevent him from escaping. Meanwhile, the local sheriff begins investigating Paul's disappearance, and he starts slowly uncovering the disturbing details about Annie's past. Now, this scene where she takes the sledgehammer and re-breaks old boy's legs, I'll say this, that's one of the most iconic scenes in movie history. You can say the word Misery, and that's the first scene that pops in everybody's mind. You guys agree with that?
I
Yes.
agree 100%. And I want to say I thought I read somewhere that in the book that she actually like chops off his foot. Maybe is that correct, Brent?
I
With
can't
with an
remember.
axe?
It's been a while, but now that you say that, yeah, I think that she did
Like,
chop off his foot.
and they and
Dang.
I read that they said that the director said that he didn't want to chop off his foot with the axe because it would be a little bit too graphic. But I mean, you see this man's leg wrapped like a noodle around that board.
Yes.
I
Oh,
mean,
God, that was
that's
bad.
almost yeah. I mean, like if you're just chopping a foot clean off, I feel like I would rather see that than the foot
It'd probably
breaking
been
like
less
that.
painful too to just chop your
Yeah,
foot
I
off.
mean,
You know,
it's crazy. One main question that I had, and I want to say somebody texted us in the group chat about this. I don't remember who it was. What triggered her to get angry? So I believe if I'm following the timeline correctly here, Paul releases the last Misery book.
Mhm.
That's where it's revealed what happens with Misery, that she dies. But he also has this new book that he's written. He has the I guess the manuscript for it. And he's going to go take this to some people in New York.
Yeah.
She's not angry about anything. Well, she obviously didn't like the cursing in that. I guess the draft of his new book. All of the anger came from the official release of the last Misery book. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
I think there was maybe some confusion there. I wanted to make sure
And
that
I was wrong in my answer to Dad, by the way, and I was going to save it for the podcast. So the last Misery book that was supposed to be released was Misery's Child. That was the last book. That's the book that Annie Wilkes reads and gets mad because Misery Chastain dies at the end of that book. The book that Paul had just got finished writing was a completely different book
different. Yeah.
about a gang in like New York. So it had nothing to do with Misery. So that's why she wasn't as mad about that, except for the fact that she didn't like the language in the book. But she
Yeah.
wasn't as mad about that because it didn't have anything to do with Misery. But she got super mad when she found out that Misery dies at the end because Misery can't die. She's Paul Sheldon's #1 fan. So
Wow.
Yeah. That just wanted to make sure I had that correct. I agree with you. That's what I originally thought. But I was like, yeah, wait a second. I didn't even think about that.
which carries back into the whole Stephen King thing of like he got finished with his horror and then he tries a new thing, but but the fans got mad at him for trying the new thing. So
That's
Yeah,
very
that's usually how
interesting.
it goes too. Everybody wants people to stick to what they're good at and not try to branch out and do anything different. You know what I'm saying? Well, Daniel, do you want to try to do some trivia?
It's gonna go
Yeah,
good.
we Yeah, I got like 9 questions, so we'll just have to get ready for it. We'll go question number 1 tonight. What kind of paper did Annie get Paul at first?
Oh, do you need the specific name or like what was wrong with it?
It's got a specific name on the front.
Whatever
and he
it
tells
was,
her to
it's
go
smudged.
get a different
It's
kind
smudged.
of paper.
That's
Yeah.
all I know about that paper, bro.
All right,
This ain't Dunder Mifflin.
The paper that she went to go get at first is ENT, and ENT is actually on the front of the ream. And then he put that in the typewriter and wrote smudge, and then showed her that it smudged. She got mad about that, left, and went to go get the other paper. So,
she got pissed off.
Number 2,
She had to go back to town.
yeah, she did.
Do you need anything else while I'm out?
Literally, dude, she was.
You need me to buy the whole store for you?
I had an ex-girlfriend like that one time. She was whacked out too. Question number 2: How many miles of curvy road was on the sign when Paul wrecked? He saw the sign. How many miles
Good
did it say?
Lord.
Okay, 6.3.
No.
It's so funny waiting on there. No.
Was it like 3 miles?
No.
I want to say 11.
Corky is the closest. It was 13. 13.
And
I'm-
man.
So going off of what Brent was talking about earlier with this being set in Sidewinder, 13 miles is them basically going down the side of the mountain in Sidewinder. So you've got from the Overlook Hotel down to Sidewinder was so long, and then from Sidewinder down to wherever else Paul was going, that was another 13 miles, right? So that was Sidewinder from The Shining.
Yes.
Awesome.
So we are at question number 3. How did Paul kill Misery in his untitled manuscript, which is
Cade.
Brent,
my bad because go ahead, Brent.
childbirth.
That's right.
Childbirth. She died in childbirth. Brent gets the point.
But,
Next question: What kind
but
of
you're also kind
car
of wrong
did Paul
because
drive?
she didn't die.
Cade.
Yeah, well, Cade, go.
65 Mustang.
You are correct, sir. And then
How did you get the
next
year
one?
on that?
I just remember that distinctly, dude. I don't know why. I think I liked this car.
They said 65 Mustang, but when I looked it up so apparently it was a 64 Mustang that was used, but they called it a 65 in the movie, and I don't know cars, so I had to go with what the movie said. Next
Sweet.
question: How does Annie discover that Paul got out of his room?
Cade.
Cade.
Her penguin on her table was turned the wrong direction.
Yeah, that
Supposed
is
to be
correct,
facing
sir.
due south.
Good job.
I'm honored.
How much did Annie tell Paul the typewriter weighed?
Hold on. What?
I heard Corky.
She said this?
25 pounds.
No.
Oh.
Hold on a
Brent.
second. She said. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Was it 30
Brent, go.
pounds?
No. Cade is the last person in play. We've got about a 52-second delay.
Okay, so given that he was pressing the typewriter above his head, I will say that the typewriter weighed 45 pounds.
You're very close. She said that it weighed 50 pounds.
Yeah, I don't even remember her saying
say
that,
it.
dude. I really
I
don't.
don't either. That's a heavy
Whenever
typewriter, though.
That
you know?
is.
Because
He was shoulder pressing it at one point.
she told him the kind of typewriter it was and gave the weight whenever she told him what kind it was.
Well, it's a Royal typewriter.
All right, we got 2 more,
That's right.
and it's missing in the end, and it weighs 50 pounds. Now, next question.
Of course, that's the part. That's the attribute of the typewriter he asked about.
That's right. What song was playing when Annie smashed Paul's feet?
Oh, man. Dang.
It's like it's a classical song.
Wait, Cade.
Cade, go. Cade.
Was it Moonlight Sonata?
Yes, it was. Mr. Resident Evil.
How do you know that?
Ooh,
I
good
love
job.
that song. So
What
that
do you mean, how do you
song
know
was in
that?
the trailer. That
I've
song
never
was
heard
in
of
the-
Midnight
so-
Sonata.
It is a Beethoven song, I think, right? It's Beethoven.
It's awesome. It's in Resident Evil 1 all the way through it.
Yes,
They play it like 3 or 4
and
It's
it was in
It's
the
the
trailer
Moonlight
for
Sonata.
Spider-Man: Web of Shadows back in 2007. That was one of my favorite games of all time back when I was a kid, and it blew my mind. Like, this song
Oh, yeah.
is sick. It's like, what?
good stuff. And
Well,
then I've got one last
never
question.
heard of it.
And the last
He
question
knows
is, what are the 3 things Paul needs when he finishes a book?
Brent,
Cade.
Brent.
he
I
needs
recognize Brent.
he needs a match. Okay, wait, no one's answered. He needs a match.
I
He needs,
just figured you was gonna get it right.
he needs a bottle of Dom Perignon, and he needs a cigarette. 1 cigarette.
Nice, dude.
There you go.
Nice.
A
Brent.
cigarette, a match, and a bottle of Dom. So that's all for the trivia. Cade,
Well, hey,
what's the
can't go
total
wrong
tonight?
with that.
So I had 3 points and Brent has 2. So
Oh,
it was close. It was close. I think it could have gone either way.
Kate, I think you're
Corky
like
has
leading
0
for the year
points.
so far, right?
So last week, Bryson and Donna won, and then the Wolf Creek podcast. Yeah, I did get a W there.
Didn't I get a dub at some point this year?
You did at Paranormal Activity, dude.
Yeah, man.
You
that's
had
what
4
I'm talking about.
points. You were cooking that night.
All right, fellas, let's break down the final part of the movie. In the climax, Paul finishes the new manuscript titled Misery's Return and tricks Annie into thinking he's burning it. Now, when she realizes she has been deceived, a violent confrontation erupts between them. Paul fights back using the typewriter and other objects in the room, eventually killing Annie during the struggle. After being rescued, Paul recovers and returns to writing, but the psychological trauma remains. In the final scene, he experiences a moment of fear when he thinks he sees Annie in a restaurant, showing just how deeply the experience has affected him. So, what'd you guys think about the end of the movie?
Go for it, Brent.
well, it's a
Break
great
it down
ending.
for it.
It's a great ending to the movie. You have the sheriff. So it's really tense when the sheriff shows up because you know that the sheriff is very suspicious. And so he's kind of walking around. And when he walks out the door and he hears a noise coming from inside the house, and he goes back in, opens the cellar door, and he sees Paul, and then he gets shot in the chest from behind by Annie. Just like crazy. And I feel like you don't see too much stuff like that in modern movies, not as much anyway, of one of your main characters dying in that way.
Yeah.
But then, you know, Paul, he's down in the cellar, and he's going to kill him and kill herself so that they can both spend the afterlife together, she says. But he tricks her into saying, hey, you have do this for Misery. You have to know, we have to keep her story alive. And so he spends the rest of the day writing, and it's really cool. You know, the end, he says, Annie, I'm almost done. What are the 3 things that I need? And at first she says, I don't know, what are they? And he says, you're my number 1 fan, you know. And the way she smiles, like, it's just another one of the way that Kathy Bates just really excels at the performance. When she smiles, when she's normal, she has like a twinkle in her eye. She looks like the nicest person that you would want to meet. And she's like, oh, I knew I was just messing with you. And so she names the 3 things. And eventually he says, I'm ready. And so she brings it back. And at that point, he's already burning the manuscript. And as she jumps down onto the floor to try to pat out the fire, he hits her with the apparently 50-pound typewriter that
Yeah, I thought she'd be dead from that, dude.
but he smashes the typewriter on her head, and they get into a fight on the floor. So, Kay, this being your first time watching the movie, what kind of surprised you up until the fight? Was there anything in particular that surprised you or that stood out to you?
Yeah,
or-
I think one of the biggest things that stands out for me about this, I was telling Olivia, our main character here, you know, he shows like no fear. You know, there's a few instances where you can tell he's kind of shaken, but I mean, Paul like handles this situation better than I think most people would. You know, most people, they knew they were, especially at the point they knew they were being kidnapped and being forced to do something like write the story, would be probably screaming in that room to get out. But he honestly like plays his cards right. You know, he realizes quickly that he's being, you know, drugged. You know, the medicine that she is giving him, I believe it's called like Norville or Novril. I can't remember the name of the medication. It's something completely made up, but it's making him sedated where he's not going to really be able to leave. And so I thought he showed a lot of good like survival instincts in the movie, given that he had 2 broken legs. But yeah, like the final scene, all I could sit there and think about was how tough this lady was. Like, her will, like she truly believed like her and Paul were meant to be together and that they were supposed to die. I mean, she had gotten bashed in the back of the head with this 50-pound typewriter. She should have been dead, but she still kept trying to get to him. And so, the final scene I thought was filmed very well. It showed, a lot of tense scenes, and for me, I thought that the director captured it perfectly.
And one thing to note too, Cade, you were kind of circling around. I thought you were going to say it, but so the whole time she uses different words instead of cussing. She'll say like
Yeah.
cock-a-doodle.
Yeah.
She'll say you poo, just stuff like that. But
She finally cussed us.
when he burns the manuscript, she calls him. She actually says the bad word for that she's substituting for cock-a-doodle.
Yeah.
And that's when you know, okay, she is like she's going to kill him. So the way that the script is kind of written in that, like she's done with all of the pretenses, she's going to kill Paul Sheldon. And so that kind of escalates the tension whenever she doesn't say
Yep.
you cock-a-doodle.
She was under the influence of Pennywise. That's my theory.
I think
Just
so.
kidding.
Yeah.
I think the Shining has it, or the
Yeah.
Overlook has an effect on her.
Yep, it's reaching down to her. She's losing her mind. She's seeing dead people walk around.
Well, I'll say this. It was a brutal death for her. He basically had to beat her to death, didn't he?
Yeah. He grabbed
Yeah.
that statue and hit her basically like right square in the freaking forehead. And then at that point, I was like, there's no way this chick is making it after that. She's
So
got to
he
be done.
he kills her with the statue of the pig that she named Misery. So he kills her with Misery.
Yeah. I forgot.
That's
I did not
ironic.
make that connection. That's funny.
Yeah, that's ironic. Cool, man. Well, you guys got anything to add before we rate this bad boy?
No.
Well, just the diner scene really quick at the end
Yeah,
was
go
really
ahead.
cool. I mean, that was a really cool kind of twist. Obviously, Annie Wilkes is not still alive, but for a split second, though, you could think, oh, it never really said that it never said that she was actually dead. And maybe she's, she would be crazy enough to go and work at a restaurant in New York just for the
Follow
one
him.
time that she could see Paul Sheldon. And then for it to end with the lines, "Are you Paul Sheldon? I'm your number one
Yeah.
fan."
Yeah. And
Like,
that lady kind of
wow.
had that crazy look in her eyes too, a little bit. She was a
Yeah.
little wide-eyed.
No doubt. Well, I guess we'll go ahead and we'll give Misery a ranking. And I'll tell you guys, man, I'm kind of curious of how this one's going to come out because I know we all like this movie, but I'm just wondering how we will rank it number wise. And Daniel, you go first and give us your ranking, buddy. Then the rest of us will go.
All right. Well, I'll be short and sweet with my ranking. I ended up with a 7.8, ranks up to an 8. I give it high scores for the symbolism, overall enjoyment. And then you had above average scores for the rest of the stuff. So I really enjoyed the movie. I think that Rob Reiner did a good job with directing. He had some really good cast members in it. I loved the comedy between the sheriff and his wife. I thought that it was well placed. And it was just one extra thing that just kicked it up for me. So it gets an 8 for me.
Awesome. And if I'm not mistaken, Rob Reiner just passed away. So R.I.P. Rob Reiner. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I didn't know that. Shoot, man.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
I may
about a
be
month
wrong.
ago.
Fact check me on that, Cade, but I'm pretty sure he just passed away.
He got murdered.
I think
He got
I think
murdered
his kid
by
actually
his
murdered him.
son, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just literally December 14th in an apparent homicide.
Yeah, by his own kid. What a way to
Him and
go
his
out, man.
wife. Yeah.
Terrible.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
By their son.
Allegedly.
Yep.
Yeah, allegedly. Let's throw that in there. Allegedly. But yeah, Cade, go next, buddy. Let's see what you got.
Yeah, so for my score, I'm gonna give this one a 7 out of 10. I did really enjoy this. The movie had great tension throughout. For us, we break down movies with multiple settings a lot of times, a lot of different things going on. This movie took place all in one location primarily, and so a lot of tension. Great cast with some great writing. So I think honestly a 7 out of 10 is a pretty solid score for this one. I loved it. It was great.
Yeah, no doubt. And Brent, I'm going to save you for last. I'll go ahead and throw my ranking in there right now. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. I think this movie's a classic. Like I said, you can't say the word misery unless you think about that scene where she breaks old boy's legs again. That's one of those films and one of those scenes that everybody knows. I don't care who you are. I don't care what age you are. You've probably seen or heard of that scene. Music wise, I know you guys said there was a famous song in there by Beethoven or something like that, but I don't know.
Moonlight Sonata, shout out. It's a good song.
Shout out Beethoven, man. R.I.P., a long time ago.
Too soon.
Yeah. So I'll give it a 7 out of 10. I'm going to throw it over to Brent and let's see what you got, buddy.
I think it's a great movie. I wanted so badly to give it a 10 out of 10. For my enjoyment subcategory, I did give it a 10 out of 10. So based off of my enjoyment of watching the movie, I'll probably watch this 20 or 30 more times in my lifetime. It's a movie that you're never really going to get bored watching just because it's the acting in it is so good and the story is so unique. But my overall score is a 9 out of 10. It was kind of the music and cultural significance were the lowest, but when I say lowest, I mean 8 out of 10. Everything else was really high. So for me, that rounds to a 9 out of 10.
Nice. What's that give it, Cade?
That gives from the Remember That crew an 8 out of 10 for this movie.
Wow.
Which is a pretty solid ranking in my opinion. I think you could argue higher, a 9, but honestly, I could see an 8 out of 10 being a fair score for this one.
I think that's a solid score for this movie. I think it's a solid 8 out of 10. I'll agree with that, man.
Yeah.
So, well, there you have it, guys. Misery from the Remember That crew gets a solid 8 out of 10. Thank everybody for joining us tonight. We're going to get together next week, and I'm pretty sure we're going to do a Friday the 13th movie next week. More than likely part 5, since we're having a Friday the 13th next week. So join us all next week when we're going to break down Friday the 13th part 5. Appreciate everybody joining us, man. Misery, 8 out of 10. See you guys next week. Bye, everybody.
See you, bye.
See ya, bye.